Good Thursday afternoon and welcome to Marv Moorhead Stadium here at Upper Arlington High School for our final Facebook Live of the 2017-18 sports season. I'm Dave Purpura along with Jarrod Ulrey, and our guest to begin the show here is the coach of the Upper Arlington girls lacrosse team, Wendy Pinta. Her team heading back to the D1 state championship on Saturday. They'll take on New Albany. Coach, first off, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're coming off a, 18-8 win over Sycamore last night.
Yes.
First half, I know, was kind of nip and tuck before you guys started to pull away. Tell us a little bit about the game, how it progressed, and what you guys were able to do, especially in the second half.
Well, I thought Sycamore did a really good job of trying to control the ball as much as possible. They were moving the ball around, trying to get our defense to make decisions, and then capitalizing on mistakes that we made. You know, our pace is best when we're running fast and we're pushing the ball hard, so I think trying to take us out of our game plan definitely worked for him the first half. But, you know, the draw was just absolutely critical, and, you know, I kept thinking if we can just keep going back to the draw circle and giving our team another opportunity to score, we'll walk away with the win.
Okay.
Another great season for the Bears this year. What's been special about this group? I mean, we've heard about you guys have just a very large stable of talent over here. For people that maybe haven't been able to see you play a lot, what's been special about this group?
Our senior class is incredibly special, first and foremost. Incredible leadership, great talent, hardworking group of kids. They don't settle for playing good, they want to play great, so they work hard to get better each and every day at practice, and that just translates to wins on the field.
You mentioned the draw a couple minutes ago. Lauren Farber obviously has been a huge key there. Tell us about her year.
She's had a phenomenal year. I think last night alone we controlled the draw 22 times to their 6, I think.
Wow.
We are outdrawing our opponents a 4-to-1 ratio. It all starts with her in my draw control team. Elena Schuldmeyer, Brenna Smith, they all read each other well, they communicate. But certainly the draw has been absolutely critical to each and every one of our games.
What were some of your thoughts about this state championship matchup? You know New Albany well.
They're a great team. I mean, I think the two best teams are in the state championship, and that's what you want out of a state championship game. They're well coached, they're fast, they move the ball well, they have a tenacious and relentless defense. We're going to have to work very, very hard to put some goals in the cage.
All right, that's at 4 o'clock on Saturday over at Ohio Wesleyan. Coach Pinta, thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, and you know that game, 23-0 Upper Arlington, 21-1 New Albany now. UA won 12-5 the last time these two teams got together. I believe that was on the 2nd of May. And yeah, I mean, I agree with Wendy. I mean, Wendy, these are the two top teams in the state, and nobody should be surprised to see this matchup.
You think about, I mean, Central Ohio produced some great lacrosse, girls lacrosse this year with figuring, you know, Old Tangy Liberty was kind of on the verge of maybe of beating New Albany there last week in the regional final.
Well, close for a while.
That was a great game. So yeah, just an incredible amount of depth in this program. I know New Albany is really, they're really gunning for this too. After getting a chance to talk to them a little bit the other night, and this is, you know, it ought to be a really exciting game for both these teams. And I mean, it seems like it would probably be a closer game maybe than the regular season matchup. So.
Yeah, that was a 7-goal game, and you know, I think I put on Twitter last night. You know, I covered both of these teams now. This is my 6th season covering them. In my first year, both of them won state titles. UA
right.
Division 1, New Albany in 2. And New Albany's been so close the last couple of years to getting to that state final. I mean, they lost in the regional final, I want to say once. They've lost in state semifinals a couple of times, and I admit selfishly, I kind of wanted to see those two teams go at it together. And we're finally going to get our chance on Saturday. I apologize, there are a lot of gnats flying around. We don't have that problem other times of the year here.
I believe, and I don't want to misspeak, but I think UA has won maybe 36 games in a row.
Yeah, right around. I don't have the exact number, but I know
from
that
last year. So
in states like 72, I believe.
Okay.
Dating to a regional final loss on this field in Mason in 2014, on which none of these players were on the team yet. They were all 8th graders. The oldest of them, I should say, were 8th graders back in 2014.
Well, another team that you cover, and I believe you're going to be at this game too at 1 o'clock on Saturday. DeSales against Ottawa Hills and boys lacrosse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. DeSales is back in the state final for the first time since 2012 when they won their only state championship until now. They lost in the state semi in 13 to Cincinnati Marymount, the team that they beat the other night down at Dayton Chaminade Julienne. Tommy Clayton has 64 goals on the year to lead DeSales. He had 7 the other night. Carter Hillary had the game winner with, I believe it was 1:26 to go in this fourth quarter, and then Clayton had an insurance goal, I think, with 14 seconds left.
Tell us about Jack DeSantis, too, for people that maybe have been able to see DeSales and their great defense this year.
Yeah, senior defender, heading to Maryland, committed to them a few years ago. I believe it was as a freshman or right after his freshman year. He's a special defender, and he leads a very good unit. And obviously in lacrosse, you're going to give up some goals.
Sure.
It's very rare that you're not going to. But he's had a very strong year, leading a boatload of talent over there at DeSales. You know, they have some other D1 commits as well.
Yeah.
Tommy Clayton's going to Jacksonville.
He was our Boys Athlete of the Year, for This Week News.
Yeah, we could go tonight. He was named that at our banquet.
One thing that might help DeSales, or at least on paper, it seems like they're getting a matchup against a team that Toledo, Ottawa Hills, maybe their competition isn't quite as strong as it is down here, and they're kind of more of an upstart team, I think. I mean, they've never really. This is a great season for Toledo, Ottawa Hills, just making it to the final. So we'll see how they respond to this.
There was a Toledo Blade story yesterday before their state semifinal talking about how they're trying to help grow the game up in Northwest Ohio. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland are where lacrosse is in this state. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And Northwest Ohio, I mean, maybe they were a club team 10 years ago, which is a real good factoid I got out of the Blade yesterday. I was very interested in that. So we'll see. Obviously, I think I don't want to say happy to be here because I don't want to say that about any team in the final, but they realize they've had a pretty special season so far.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Central Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati. I mean, obviously, those are with Cleveland St. Ignatius beating Kaufman last night. I mean, that was, I was at that game. What a great game that was. And DeSales actually beat Kaufman too. So
yes, they did.
That tells you anything. I mean, that kind of tells you how deep of a team they've got.
And that D1 final is going to be St. Ignatius, as you just mentioned, against St. Xavier and Kilbourne last night.
That's right. A game I'm gonna be at tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Friday at Huntington Park. Olentangy Liberty versus Medina Highland in baseball. And Liberty's a team I've been able to follow really closely this year. They're 28-4. One thing that's really special about them is his pitching staff. They got Mitch Milheim. He's going to Ohio State. He's 9-0 this season. Coach Brenning wasn't on the teleconference earlier this week. He didn't really commit to who's going to pitch, but it seems logical to think he's probably going to be a factor in that game tomorrow. Or, that would be the logical thing to do. But if not, if he decides to go with Jack Metzger, he's 4-0, or Brennan Rose 4-1. They've got lots of options there.
This is their first time to state, if I'm not mistaken,
That's right?
The Patriots, and they're one of those teams that's been knocking on the door for a long time. This wasn't the first time.
Titles, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've been in the regionals a few times and haven't punched through. Special year for them so far, especially, and they can obviously hit the ball very well. They did against New Albany the other day.
And hit it well enough. Mitchell Oakley, Ohio State commit, even though he's only a junior, so and he's probably going to be getting a lot of looks for football too. I mean, I would think, but he's he hit a game-winning home run in the regional semifinal last week that I was at.
That was the one that glanced off the Lancaster outfielder's glove.
Exactly.
And it's funny you mention that because Joey Velasquez is an Ohio State baseball
That's right.
from DeSales, and he's getting a lot of looks in football. So you can know how things are going to figure out. The winner of the Liberty Highland game will take on Mason or White House Anthony Wayne in the final. And that's at 4 o'clock Saturday. In boys volleyball, Central Ohio has a very healthy contingent over there. Hilliard Darby's in state for the 13th year in a row. St. Charles is back for the first time since 2011. That's in Division II. And the first-timers to the tournament are the Olentangy Braves, having won an East Region Championship last night.
I know you've been able to follow them really closely with Eric
Gossett.
Eric Gossett and Bentley Asbel. And they both of those were on our we invited them to our banquet, to our This Week banquet here a couple of weeks ago, and
their coach was our Coach of the Year.
That's right.
As well as State Coach of the Year.
For them, for sure.
Karen Kokaiser, she also was State Coach of the Year. Those honors, I believe, were released Tuesday. I want to say, or that might have been. Actually, I think it was on the holiday on Monday. Darby will take on St. X in the first quarterfinal. That's the way it goes in Division I at 10 a.m. Saturday.
There's another player I want to point out for Darby, Noah Plattfoot. He's only a sophomore, but he was the regional player of the year this year.
And they have a new coach.
Yeah, they have a new coach. I think another coach called him the gold standard when I was talking to him. I mean, that's just kind of where Darby is at with their program right now. They've got an incredible amount of depth in that program, and they just are really rebuilding, right? Or they're building one year after another and kind of building on what they've done a year before.
Olentangy split 2 matches with them, I want to say, just earlier this month here to wind down the regular season. St. Charles and LaSalle in Division II, we'll see what goes on there. I mean, DeSales has been a team that's been in D2 quite a bit, but St. Charles trying to make its way.
That's right.
They take on Cincinnati LaSalle. All the finals are on Sunday, or I should say both of the finals are on Sunday at Capital University. Well, we're on a track, so I guess that's a natural, if not predictable, segue to talking about the state track meet.
This is an exciting weekend for people that love running, and I think let's start with Division III, Division II. Hit a couple of things. I know you know the Division II DeSales boys very well. They've got some people there, right?
Yeah, some sprinters and a long jumper.
Hartley's got Miles Fleming. He's a great sprinter for them. They've got a really good 800 relay. And then I noticed CSG, in the Division II girls, they've got a couple of really great runners too. And the last one I want to highlight is Beechcroft sophomore Makai Montgomery, defending champion last year she's defending champion in the 100, and she was second in the 200 last year. So that's going to be one to watch this weekend.
What year did you say she is?
Sophomore.
Okay, so she won it as a freshman then last year.
Yeah, won it as a freshman.
Yeah, and in Division I, I mean, we're going to probably have some other sprinters competing for titles. Jaden Wood of Pickerington Central in the 400. She owns the best time by about, I think, 2 seconds it is. You cover the Gahanna girls. You've seen them. I mean, they won an indoor state title. I believe they've swept through the postseason so far, if I'm not mistaken, right?
One thing that's that you think of Gahanna, you think of depth, and they're especially strong in like 800 area this year. They got you can only have 2 people in the 800 in the postseason in an individual race, but they probably could have had all 4 of their members of their 4x8 maybe could have made state in the 800 this year. That's how deep they were led by Madison Martinez, and she's a really special junior, and she's going to be one to watch this year. Talking about Gahanna, the Gahanna boys also have a great sprinter, LaCar Trent. And I'm sorry, I may have jumped the gun a little bit on that, but I know we're going to be talking about Division I boys here in a minute.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and to throw in on the girls' side as well, Olentangy pole vaulter Siobhan Sorensis, she's heading to Central Michigan. She has the top height in the pole vault at 13 feet 5 inches, and that's clearly the top. You mentioned D1 boys. I know a team. You mentioned Gahanna. I cover Pickerington Central in track. Those are 2 teams that are going to make their presence known.
How about Abby Steiner? Gets another chance to win some more state titles.
Yeah,
she's pretty good. She's going for her 4th consecutive title in the 200, 3rd consecutive in the 100. Last week when we were able to talk to her after the regional, she's been feeling a little bit she wasn't quite feeling herself, but I understand she's been. She's only going to be doing the 2 events, and I believe that she's probably had some time to heal, and I think we'll see a really great Abby Steiner. Is she going to be able to run, a state record time? That's hard to tell, but I wouldn't put it past her.
Well, we'll have all the phones, I'm sure, popping out on Saturday at Just the Owens. I think our colleague Steve Blackledge mentioned that yesterday. Yeah. It's like every time she takes the track, you see these the phones starting to film or video. Film might be an outdated term, but I mean video the races and things like that. Also to hit on softball, there is some representation from Central Ohio, although 2 Division II teams from the region lost their semifinals earlier today. Jonathan Alder lost 5-4 to West Branch. Fairfield Union fell 1-0 to LaGrange Keystone. Division I, Taze Valley is actually playing here in Ohio against Massillon Perry, I believe it is. And then North Union and Cardington are representing Central Ohio in Division III.
Yeah, great weekend here. We look forward to being able to cover this and following everything.
Absolutely, and then one more big weekend of this coming up, and then maybe we all get to catch our breaths a little bit. I mean, that kind of winds everything down. Although the final event of the year is Sunday.
Football's not far.
It's not. I mean, I'm sure I'll be out here in early August preparing to chat with Joel Cutler and his staff, among all the other previews coming up in early August. And we know we'll be talking to you next. Exactly when and where, or then next, when and where, we're not quite sure about yet. But falls before we know it. Although let's not count them. We'd like to take our vacations at some point, so we want to enjoy that slightly. But hey, it's been a lot of fun doing these with you this year.
Absolutely.
All right, and we will be around all weekend. Check our coverage at thisweeksports.com, and of course we're always on Twitter. We are, and we will talk to you sometime in August. For Jarrod Ulrey, I'm Dave Purpura. So long, everybody.